What's happening, people? Shay here, uneven balance. Hope you guys are well. As after England's absolutely pathetic batting performance in the fifth day of the second test at Lords, they go into the third test starting tomorrow at Headingley, 1-0 down. Heading into the third test. There's 5 test match series. I've got a packed panel today, so I'm lucky to be having a mix of people on. I've got at last I'm not on my own in terms of England versus India fans. I've got a couple of allies with me, starting with Rajiv Radhakrishnan, as you can see here. He does our trip down memory lane videos, so we have to periodically. I'm very happy to see Joe back, fresh with all his hair seems to have gone. There's a new man. See in front of me here. So Joe Nutsy, the better half of the County Cricket Podcast. We've got Mr. Emotional, the crazy one, Aditya Mehta, the one who can't keep his emotion in check most of the time. We've got Bangalore's answer to Lionel Richie, Krishna Kalki in the house. We've got Bush or Not, sign manager. Need I say more? Do you know what I mean? The cricket fanatic, the hardcore cricket fanatic who will talk about cricket any time of the day, as I found out myself. So thank you all to you for coming on, especially Joe and Rajiv, because obviously you've been licking our wounds for the past week. Good to see. I'm not going to get absolutely hammered by these three tonight. We'll all take a beating, it looks like. Obviously heading into the test match tomorrow, the squads, I'll actually got them here. So start with the England squad that I've got ahead. We've got just bring up here. So we've got obviously a change-up squad. We've got Joe Root as captain still, obviously. Josh Butler's keeper. Dave Milan recalled to the squad. Been in the test wilderness for 3 years. Moeen Ali, Sam Curran retained his place in the squad despite the king pair at Lords. Craig Overton, James Anderson, Hasiba Mead, Ollie Pope, Johnny Bairstow, Dan Lawrence, Ollie Robinson, Rory Burns. Saqib Mahmood is brought into the squad. Mark Wood is there as well, but obviously he's now injured. So he's pulled out. Hopes to be fit for the 4th test, but he's no longer in the squad. Dominic Sibley has obviously been dropped, which we'll discuss in a short while when we discuss. I actually termed it England's top order batting woes, but the reality is it's a top 11 batting woes, isn't it? Let's be honest. It's not even the top order. It's just embarrassing. So we'll get into obviously the crux of that a little bit shortly. In terms of India, Shakul Thakur, I believe, is back fit now. Ravi Ashwin's obviously there as well. And I want to discuss, obviously, maybe potential of a change going into tomorrow's test, if the guys think that will happen or not. But I will start, obviously, I'll start with England, and obviously bring Joe and Rajiv into this. So as I said before, we've obviously got Wood has been declared out of this 3rd test. Stuart Broad, I believe, is still injured. Correct me if I'm wrong. He will not be available tomorrow. James Anderson, obviously, is still been declared as fit. 3rd test match in a row. And for a 39-year-old, I can tell you, me and Rajiv can tell you, it can't be easy to a bit of hardy yakka to get on that, on the strip three tests in a row as a 39-year-old. What changes would you make going into tomorrow? Obviously, David Milan, you'd imagine, will come in. But Rajiv, I'll start with you. What changes would you make from the 2nd test?
Well, I'm hoping Ollie Pope does play. I think he's a young, vibrant kind of player, very successful domestically, and I think he brings a lot more stability to the side. And there's just something about the way he approaches his game, which inspires a lot more confidence than, say, Dom Sibley, who unfortunately was getting out to the same shot throughout the first 2 tests. If you saw, he was doing that flick. So I'm hoping Pope can capitalise on fairly good start to his career. So I'll definitely bring him in. The other change, I know you probably won't like this. It's not going to happen, but I'm still concerned. Everyone's talking about the top order, the middle order. Well, I'm sorry, but for me, the wicketkeeper is an issue. Josh Butler has played probably over.
I knew you'd say that. I knew you'd bring up Josh Butler.
I have to go my bugbear, which is, Josh Butler. But then the counter argument is, well, who do you replace him with? People won't say Johnny Bairstow, burden him with the gloves when he's looking in fairly good form. But I would remove Josh Butler, because if he was lucky at Lords, he did block out a lot of balls, on the last day. But he was dropped by Virat Kohli very early on. He's averaging 30 and he's batting at 6. I mean, I'm sorry, something needs to go there, but that's not going to happen. So yeah, hopefully Pope comes in. I think Hamid will open, which is good. He's been outside for 5 years, and I'm hoping he will get first use of the pitch when he opens. He was a bit unlucky at Lords. He got the first ball. That can happen to anyone. He was lucky in the second innings as well, but if they push him up there, he's 24. Let's invest in him. Let's invest in Pope, and that's what I would do.
Okay, thank you, Rajiv. How about you, Joe? I mean, could you see a recall for Ollie Pope, maybe into the side, Dan Lawrence, maybe?
Yeah, there's obviously a lot of different ways England can go about it. Obviously, we know Sibley's not there, so Hamid will go and open with Burns, which, by the way, I'm a big fan of Hamid, so I'm glad he's getting a chance. And then in terms of the number 3 spot, I think there is a few different things. I think they'll most likely go with David Milan, because why would they put him in and not, and not play him? I think firstly York should feel hard done by. They've got a T20 quarter final right now, so if Milan didn't play, they feel very hard done by. But from an England perspective, I do think there were alternative routes, and I feel like there's very much we've seen it so often. There's very much almost cliques within the England setup, and that's a very bold word to use, perhaps. But David Milan, I know he's done all right in red ball cricket, but there's players who've done better than him. And the issue with with English cricket, is there's been no red ball cricket played for the last how many months? 2-3 months at domestic level. So I can understand why they put Milan in, and he's probably up there with one of the favourites. Clique's a very strong word. I won't really use that again, but within this kind of group, he's one of the favourites almost. But yeah, I'm not sure if necessarily he's the right player. We'll find out. He's probably gonna get a ton now. I've said that. And then again, Josh Butler, I wouldn't personally keep him in. I agree with you there, Rajiv. I don't think he's good enough to play Test cricket. I think how many times he's another one who is, again, clique is not the right word, but it's the only word I can think of to use. He's in this clique of they're going to keep going back to him, and you can argue Johnny Bairstow's in there, but Johnny's scoring runs now. Johnny's doing what he's put into the team to do. And all right, he didn't do so well in the second innings, but he's got 50 in the last Test. Butler is blocked out for a very long time, and if you play more positively, the chances are he would have got out, just judging off past performances. So I would drop Josh Butler. I would give out. He played in the ODI series against Pakistan. I would give the gloves to John Simpson, because for me he's a great wicketkeeper, and I think he's a great batter as well. I really do. So I would give the gloves to John Simpson or to Sam Billings. For me, they're the 2 players who I would probably look at keeping for England. But yeah, I don't know. It's very hard to kind of judge, because I think whichever way England go, they're on a hide into nothing, because India are so much better than them, and I genuinely can't see England winning the Test.
Is that really the crux of the problem, we'd say, Rajiv? I mean, I think obviously we're discussing our lineup, like England's lineup. I mean, being so poor in the batting, in particular, pathetic, barring Captain Joe Root. But is this a case that India is simply a far better outfit than us? I mean, obviously they've proven the last couple of years. They got to the World Test Championship final, albeit obviously they lost that in obviously English conditions. But they've been to Australia, and obviously they won there, which something we haven't done for 10 years, with arguably a B/C team. They're extremely well led by a very passionate Virat Kohli. All these simply just another level to England in the current landscape of world cricket, and that's the reason why we're taking a beating at the moment.
And I think a good indicative case study example is Rohit Sharma. Rohit Sharma came here in 2019 for the World Cup, opened batting, and he scored 5 centuries. I was at Lords for the second test, first day. And I watched how he constructed his innings. It took him the whole day, nearly, to get to 83. And that's exactly what you want from an opener. And he adapted his game according to the format. He scored 83. Sad he missed out on 100. But he took the shine off the new ball, and he made it easier for the other players, the other Indian players, and for the back end of the match to win on the Monday. It was all set up thanks to him. At the beginning, 83, and of course the other opener who made it to a century. And I think that's the case, is they can adapt to different formats. Now, there's nothing wrong if you can't adapt, but then pick the personnel per format. So if Josh Butler is doing it in the white ball game, that's fine, but he cannot translate it into red ball. Fine, don't pick him for red ball. That's absolutely, there's no issue. Rohit Sharma, and Kohli and Joe Root can do multiple formats. So I think England need to work out who are their multiple format players, who are the ones who can only fit into one, two, or two of the boxes, and then take it from there. And look at how Rohit Sharma went about and scored his innings. It's something that Graham Gooch has always banged on about, which is to build and construct an innings. And yes, be positive, which Rohit Sharma is, but he knew what balls to leave off on the offside, which balls to attack, and that's what it was. And I think we've lost our host.
We have, haven't we? We have.
Okay, so shall I just take over while we wait for Shay to come back on?
Yeah, well, I actually had a question on that. You mentioned multi-format players there. Do you think Sam Curran is one of those players, or do you not see a future for him in Test cricket? Obviously, he had a bad test and he got a pair, right? That's an anomaly. I would say he's an all-rounder. Other people may disagree, but I would say he's an all-rounder. Do you see Sam Curran as one of those players or not?
I think Shay's come on. While Shay's coming on, I'll just answer that question for you. With Sam Curran, I think the good thing is he does make things happen.
Yeah.
But I'm not convinced of him being a third seamer, potentially a fourth seamer.
Yeah.
I just can't see him somewhere on a deck where nothing's happening for him actually going to make any impact. Hi Shay, I just took over for a bit, and we just talked about Sam Curran, but I'll give it back to you as the host to take things further.
No, I heard. Yeah, just I'm having issues with my stream here at work. That's why I just have to try and move around a little bit. But carry on, Rajiv. So I've listened to what you've been saying.
Yeah, so just the very good question put up by Nutsy99, I like that name, about where does Sam Curran fit within the England setup? And I was just saying, he's certainly not a third seamer. He's probably a fifth seamer, and he does make things happen. At the end of the day, he does, but I don't know how long term he can be in Test cricket. Perhaps he's more of a white ball player, maybe in that sort of bits and pieces player. But maybe we're being too harsh, and I hope he proves us wrong.
Definitely.
Are you still there, Shay? You're back on?
I think it's taking a second for the audio to get through to a minute.
Oh, is it delayed?
Like we see on TV sometimes.
Okay.
We'll catch up any second, I think.
All right, guys. I'm just going to try and move it along a little bit because I know it's a bit difficult on this. I obviously got you guys together. I'd like to try and run through some of the questions I've got on my agenda. We'll obviously go to we'll start with Christian actually, just in regard to your opinions on the lineup for tomorrow. Any changes you would make, or would you go with an unchanged side? In particular, I'd like to concentrate a little bit on Rahane and Pujara, who seem to be under the flak a lot going into that second test. Some resident performances in the second innings. What's your opinion, Krishna? Do you bring in Thakur? Do you bring in Ashwin? Do you drop it at Sharma? What are you guys doing tomorrow?
See, I mean, ultimately, I think let's address each point as it is. So if you take let's talk about Pujara and Rahane, right? So Pujara and Rahane, I think it's very valid for them to come under fire. I think it's perfectly valid for them to come under fire because they just haven't scored consistently over a period of the last maybe 2-3 years, right? Rahane has got runs in like patches. He got that 100 in Australia. He got a 49 odd in the World Test Championship final. He kind of got some runs here in this match. Similarly, Pujara also has gotten runs kind of in patches, but they've not really scored. There's not really been, at least Rahane has gotten 100, but Pujara hasn't really gotten 100. He hasn't really gotten a big innings, and has really stamped his authority over the last 2-3 years. So does that mean that Pujara should be dropped? I don't really know. But I think definitely the time is running out for Pujara. I mean, for sure. I do see a lot of takers for his position. Mayank Agarwal is there. You've got guys like Hanuma Vihari waiting in the flanks. Abhimanyu Ishwaran also scored buckets of runs in the domestic circuit. You've got guys like KS Bharat as well. So there's a lot of people in there who are vying for that third and fifth spot in the side. So that, I think Pujara and Rahane are definitely on loose strings at the moment. But yeah, I don't see them getting dropped, particularly for this test match. Because I think they've just done just enough to sort of hold their place for the third test match. But if there is a drastic, if there's something drastic happens, then of course Pujara and Rahane would be out of the side. Coming to the selection of Thakur and maybe bringing Ashwin also, it's an interesting one. I think obviously, I think it depends upon if we have a dry surface, if we're going to have a dry surface, or if we're going to have sunny conditions. If we do have sunny conditions, do you need to bring in an Ashwin? Do you want to bring in an Ashwin? Obviously, the question they'll ponder. So if it is, I personally would bring in Ashwin, because I think it's a little bit of a criminal act to keep him out of the side for too long. He is, India's best bowler right now. I mean, in the last 10 years or so. So I think it's definitely necessary to bring in Ashwin if we have a dry surface, if we have sunny conditions. But if the conditions are similar to the ones that we got at Trent Bridge, then I don't think we need to change anything at all. I don't see any reason. At least one thing that is for sure is we've proved that we can play four seamers and not have a bad tail, at least in this test match. So let's see if we can continue that.
Aditya, if we go to you and get your opinion, then we go round to Cyan actually as well, just on the kind of team selection lineup, your opinions going into the test tomorrow. Is there any kind of left field kind of selections you maybe pick? Is something that we maybe not discussed or Christian's not discussed?
Not really. I generally agree with everything that Krishna has said. At the beginning of the series, it felt a bit awkward that Ashwin isn't in the team. Despite the performances that he's put in over the last couple of months, and also with his ability with the bat. He's more than a handy batsman. So it's very hard to leave him out of the side. But then you've got Jadeja, who in the last 3 years has been averaging like 15 Test cricket. And his ability with the bat has just sort of surprised everyone. Because we've seen a transformation with him with the bat. He's not the spinner that Ashwin is, but I think the all-round package that Jadeja brings just gives him a little bit of that advantage. Would I still have Ashwin in the team instead of Jadeja? Probably, because I think now England are going to pick the additional left-hander, and we know that Ashwin has a brilliant record against left-handers. So you get and David Milan he's playing Test cricket after quite a while, so it's not like he's going to come in and score 100 straight away. So yeah, I honestly I don't know. I think it's very hard to pick Ashwin given the performance in that last test, but personally I'd like to see him play in England. Other than that, just to address what Krishna said about Pujara and Rahane. I think Pujara is averaging 27 in England. For a batsman of his caliber, that's just not good enough. And it's very hard to fathom why he's struggling in England, given the technique that he has. But I would like to see him score more runs. In saying that, what he did at Lord's the other day, just ensuring that India were in a position where they simply could not lose, was a monumental effort, and all credit to him and Rahane for that partnership. At one point, I remember thinking that seeing Rahane and Pujara bat right now, even Rahul Dravid must be wanting a 6. I think they were going that slow. Pujara, I think he took 35 balls to get off the mark, and he was 12 of 100. So yeah, incredible stuff, proper Test cricket. But I think that partnership really bought both of them a little bit of time, and I just hope that they both get buckets of runs. In addition to the 3 triple hundreds, I believe Virat Kohli is going to score in the next 3 games.
Simon, we'll go to you, man. What's your opinion on tomorrow? What's going to happen? Is India going unchanged?
I feel they should go unchanged for tomorrow's match. However, I badly want Pujara out of the side. That man bores me a lot. He took 200 balls to score 45 runs. My goodness. And also about Ashwin, if the weather is clear, it will be, I feel, a toss-up between him and one of the pacers, right? Because he was supposed to play at Lord's, but then because of the weather, they went in with a 4-seam attack. That's what he said in his YouTube channel. So I'm not quite sure who they get out for the, from the attack. But if the weather is clear and seeing the number of left-handers that the England order will be having tomorrow, I feel Ashwin might play.
Okay, thank you, Simon, for that. If for some reason I don't continue, you guys just elaborate or pass it on, basically, yeah. So, because the stream, as you know, has been pretty poor on my side. I think it's the last time I'll do a video work. Apologies, this guy. Very sorry, especially to the Indian guys. I know it's very late over there. Joe, I'm going to come back to you because I'm actually really glad you're here today because I wanted to talk to Joe actually about England's batting and kind of the and what's I was saying that actually Joe's gone now. It seems like so maybe Rajiv, I'll come to you.
Sure.
And do you feel well? Actually, Joe's back. Well, okay, I'll leave you whoever's available to speak about this. But do you think that having the 100 slap bang in the middle of this Test series has maybe caused some issues in terms of obviously who's available? We're basically, if we're bringing players into the England side, it's based on performances in county cricket from months ago, and that. Do you feel like there's been less of the focus on this series, Ming's perspective, and maybe that's caused maybe some of these last couple of performances from England, or simply, as I said before, simply cases the guys who are turning up and wearing the jersey aren't good enough. Joe, I'll start with you, and also Joe, could you maybe enlighten us? Obviously, you've got a knowledge of the county game. I was like, maybe you think you could be coming into the setup, maybe Tom Abel, AJ Libby, who you feel it can make the step up from county cricket to England level, to international level.
Yeah, so firstly on your point about the 100, I mean, it's not ideal timing at all, of course. But it's never going to be ideal timing if you don't play county championship cricket next to a block of Test cricket. You know, Australia, they kind of balance out their Shield cricket and their Test cricket, so it kind of aligns a little bit more. And of course, as I say, it's never going to be ideal. India, they don't, obviously, the IPL doesn't clash with any Test cricket. So India kind of have their priorities right, in my opinion, is that the IPL is on. That's their biggest thing. That, I mean, maybe not as big as Test cricket, but it's their biggest domestic thing, of course. And they have that going on like solely, so the best players can play. Maybe England should have done that with the 100. I don't know. But either way, I think performances on the pitch, those players are good enough. At the end of the day, if you're a professional cricketer, as Rajiv said about Rohit Sharma, you're a professional cricketer, you have to be good enough to take it from one format to another within the space of a day. County players do that. They change formats within the space of days. So I'd imagine England players should be able to, do that as well. And it's been, to be honest, as you say, disappointing that they've not. And in terms of alternative players, I think, you mentioned too there, Jake Libby is a great option at the top of the order. He scored so many runs this year for Worcester. So I think he's a great shout at the top of the order. If it doesn't work out with, more likely Burns and Hamidu, I think Burns is probably next to get dropped, if I'm being honest. And Tom Abel as well, a great shout at number 3. I'm surprised I didn't pick Tom Abel. And again, it goes back to what I was saying before of Darwin Milan is already integrated with the squad. He's, plays with a lot of them at county level, and it's just the easiest, the safest option. And if it doesn't work out, he's 33, he's not a long-term replacement. Realistically, he's not a long-term replacement. So I guess it's quite naive from England in a way. I personally would have picked Tom Abel at number 3. But I could see England also, if it doesn't work out with Darwin Milan, I could see England batting Ollie Pope at number 3 in the future. I do feel like that's something that they could do, and it's not obviously not somewhere where he's batted at, much in his career, but I do think that's kind of a viable option. Ollie Pope's a class player. Ollie Pope's a very good player.
Rajiv, I know obviously in previous eras, obviously we're very much older states been on this stream, that we've obviously seen England sides in the 90s in particular just become a mediocre team, and we're almost accepting of just the people that were available. But we do a lot of chopping and changing. That was one, I think, a massive drastic kind of culture change within the England setup. Do you feel like maybe they need to be a bit more cutthroat in their approach? Is there kind of halfway house between how they were in the 90s and how they are now? I mean, Ollie Pope has played 20-odd Test matches. Zach Crawley's played a handful now. Obviously, Dan Lawrence is the baby with 8 Test matches. But they seem to have this idea of they've got this team, they've got Crawley, they've got Pope, they've got Sibley, they've got Lawrence. These are the guys that are going to take us forward. Should they continue with the strategy of investing more and more time? Do we almost say, okay, use your guys, lose to India, it's okay. Lose to Australia, they're going to get absolutely battered in Australia. Not my words. England are going to get absolutely smashed to bits. It's going to be like a Freddy movie. You know, you may even see some of the blood at some point. It's going to be horrific. But maybe that's a rite of passage for some of these guys that I mentioned to go through to become better cricketers 2022 and beyond. Or do we say, you know what, we need to approach be a bit more cutthroat and say, okay, do we take a different approach to it? You know, because I'm a bit disillusioned now. We're picking guys like Moeen Ali, who's basically on the basis of a 16-over match is getting called up to the test side. We are looking at guys like Liam Livingstone. Now, I know Joe will back Livingstone. I like Livingstone a lot.
He should be in the team, by the way. I forgot about Livingstone. He should be in the team.
But you say that, Joe. You say that, but the reality is the guy should have played. Just stayed at home and played for Lancashire at the start of the summer. He should have done that. It's like carrying drinks of Rajasthan. And he didn't do that. He decided to, I'll go to India. Why? I don't know.
But he's made that mistake before.
The funny thing is now, if you're an English cricketer coming up, the place to find a spot, I would say, to wear the jersey is in the test side. There's spots available left, right, and centre. You know? So it's just, I mean, do we then look at Tom Abel, Jake Libby, dare I say, you know, even the guys at Carlson from Glamorgan, Joe, who's done quite well early season.
Yeah. And as I said, John Simpson as well.
Do you say these guys bring them in? Or do we continue to invest in that nucleus that we've got here and say, you're our guys, irrespective of your performances? I mean, I know, Rajiv, I'll go to you first, and Joe, you can comment if you want.
Yep. Can you guys all hear me? Yep. Yep. So I think, Shay, when you mentioned the 1990s, if we do that comparison to today's game, in the 1990s, there were clamours and complaints that there was too much cricket, and therefore, the players were feeling tired when they meant to represent England, especially in effect on the fast bowlers. And then central contracts came in, and I think that was the happy medium. But now we've gone the other way, where the players actually don't have enough first-class cricket coming into a test series. And as a worrying, concerning example is that at Trent Bridge, and I was at that match too, the first test of the summer against India, that was Johnny Bairstow's first-class match of the season. I mean, I really need all of you to understand how the gravity of that situation is. It's Johnny Bairstow's first-class match of the season, and it's Trent Bridge against the second best team in the world, or probably the best team in the world. And that, to me, says it all. And it's not Johnny Bairstow's fault. And it goes back to your point there. I go back to your point there when you said, should we invest in these guys, young guys? That's great. But to invest, that means you need to look after them and make sure that they're playing first-class cricket. So when the central contracts came into place, so it's just stepped away, I'll carry on. When the central contracts came into place at the turn of the millennium, before any of you were probably born, they still, the England management could pull out the likes of Atherton, Stewart, Graham Thorpe, the guys I grew up with, and sort of manage their workload in terms of domestic first-class cricket and List A cricket. But there was still enough in the domestic scene for them to go back to and, work on their game and play in a competitive environment. They don't have that now. So if the India series, the players who get dropped or are missing out in this series, there's nothing for them to go to. There is no first-class cricket for them to go to. 10 years ago, I remember, this was happening 10 years ago when India came in 2011. I might have got the years wrong, but Andrew Strauss he was lacking form. He didn't have a county to go back to play. They made him play for Somerset in a tour game or something else, which didn't affect the county championship. We can't have that situation. So, going to answer your question, Shay, invest, but you can't do that investment if you don't have a base to go back to. And going back to the 100, which I detest more than anything, and for those who know Beverly Hills Cop 3, it's on that level of hatred. If any of you are movie fans, that's the worst movie that has ever been made in the history of movies, Beverly Hills Cop 3. The 100 is on that par of hatred that I have. So, and I know my
Nil
movies
Scott
and I know
free.
my cricket. So it really is dire. So what's really annoying about the 100, it was developed. Well, Andrew Strauss was involved in it, and Andrew Strauss is a respected former England captain who's done so much for the game and the charity that we all know about. I wouldn't have expected his name to be associated with that trash that is the 100. It is absolute trash. And you're putting it into the schedule that's already got 3 other formats, and it's just bursting at the seams. And it's just an embarrassment, really. England have embarrassed themselves by this absolute trash. So I'll let someone else speak now.
Joe, do you want to follow up? Any comments? Just
Yeah, I think just going back to what you said, Shay, about like should we keep a nucleus basically of the likes of Sibley, Crawley, Lawrence, these kind of guys. Actually, Lawrence has barely played a test, so maybe you don't include him. To me, what's the point in having a county championship if you're not going to pick players from it? The whole point of being a professional sportsman is progression, and you progress from, well, in cricket you progress from club cricket to second 11 cricket, or academy cricket to second 11 cricket to first class cricket, and then from there you're meant to go on to play test cricket. And what's the point of having that 18 county setup if you're not going to pick any of them, if you're just going to stick with the same guys you keep ultimately failing? And it sounds very harsh, but that's the reality of it. They're not getting any runs, or, well, the bowlers aren't the problem. Ollie Robinson's a good example. He's the only person in the team really who has proven himself in county cricket and has given the chance. Haseeb Hameed as well, but he already had his time in the test team. He's been brought back in. So, I would say Robinson and Rory Burns are really the only two in the team who have been proven in county cricket and then brought themselves, or basically earned themselves a place in the test side. So I think what's the point of having a county setup if you're not going to pick the players from it?
But you can't blame the current players for failing. I don't blame them as much.
No, I'm not necessarily saying that. I'm just saying.
I know you're not blaming. Sorry, that's the wrong word. But when Mark Ramprakash was struggling through the 1990s before your time, he had the opportunity to go back and play county cricket, which he did, and was very successful. These guys don't have that opportunity. They have nothing to go back to. So that's my issue.
Yeah. So then, what's the point of? There's no point to me of playing any okay, Australia. Look at Australia; they're the perfect example. If they have in between tests, I know it's a different format, but in between tests, they let their players go and play in the Big Bash because they want their players to play as much cricket as possible. And again, it comes back to, if you're a professional sportsman, I appreciate you're going to get tired eventually, but you should be able to play in a lot of cricket. A lot of cricket. That's the most simple way I can put it. And again, as I say, I appreciate you're going to get tired, but you still should be able to almost stay on a roll and play a lot of cricket. And I'm not expecting people to, play every single day of the year or every other day of the year. They're going to get burnt out physically and mentally. And I think Stokes is an absolutely the right thing if that's how he feels to take a break. And I hope he's okay. But, just generally, I agree with you, Rajiv. They need to play county cricket. And what's the point of having a county system if you're not going to use it, A, to play your test players or any format players, and B, to not pick players from, because that's not what they do, really.
No, it's a very sort of scattergun approach to selection,
100%.
based on no evidence. So sorry, Shay. Yeah.
fair enough. Right, guys. Sorry, the last little bit cut out, but I got the crux of what was discussed there. I want to go to India now. Obviously, Virat Kohli, and discuss obviously his approach to this Test series. I feel personally that England are quite fragile as a unit, and I think Virat Kohli has exploited that absolutely wonderfully, especially the brittle batting order. Obviously, a lot of things to talk about his approach to the series, his aggressiveness. Obviously, he's a very fiery character. Do you feel, Krishna, we'll start with you, we'll go to Sai and then to Aditya, this is all part of tactics employed by him and Shastri from the start of the series? Was it always the way they were going to approach the game, to play hard before the series even started? Or was it just simply a culmination of the exchanges between the guys on the field, like we saw between Anderson and Bumrah?
I really don't know if it's tactics, because I mean, looking at this entire test match, the way at least the first test match had like literally almost I mean, besides the Siraj and Sam Curran bout, I don't think there was any real fiery display of emotions from Virat himself, because Virat was telling Siraj to calm down, right? And that was rather odd in the first test match for Virat to tell his boys to calm down when he is the spokesperson, the leader of the side. He carries that armor of fieriness and sledge, I guess, the sledging spirit in him. I think it was just a matter of like whatever, they sledged Bumrah, so we're going to give it back to you. And I think he said that in one of the press conferences. He said that you come after one of our boys, the whole team comes after you, right? He said something along those lines. So I think it was just a matter of that. Coming to the third test, I don't think Kohli really needs to plan tactics in terms of a sledging, in terms of trying to sledge England, because he knows that England is already down and out in terms of their mentality. I don't think he won't be looking at trying to sledge them even more, because that just seems a little unnecessary in terms of, it just seems a little unnecessary, like to waste time planning tactics on how to sledge the English batsmen. It would make more sense to figure out, okay, do we need to make a change, or maybe let's just enjoy the recreational facilities in in the stadium. I think that's probably, or maybe play with his daughter. I don't think he's going to spend time trying to figure out how to sledge the English batsmen. That just seems a little pointless to me. I guess when it comes to the other tactics, though, when it comes to actually, I do want to say a little bit about England, if you would allow me to talk a little about England. I think when it comes to the English batsmen, of course, they're suffering a major lack of confidence, both in themselves and the management as well. There's just too much chaos in the heads right now, especially with the 100 and Moeen Ali coming in from nowhere. Then now you've got Ollie Pope also back in the team. Players going out, players coming in. Ben Stokes obviously the loss of Ben Stokes was huge for England. But I didn't think it would dent their balance this much. Like, it didn't seem like it would dent their balance, because they have players like Sam Curran who can fill in those voids, right? It just didn't seem like that should be a problem. But still, somehow they're struggling with their batting order. And I think coming to the point of county cricket, that Joe and Rajiv mentioned, it was quite interesting from an Indian fan's point of view that that they're not picking up players from the 100. They're not picking up players from county cricket, because the English cricket has always been about, let's pick up players from the county cricket, let's pick up players from domestic circuit, and let's bring them in there, let's show the world who we have. Like, I remember people like Keaton Jennings, people like Ian Bells, right? All these guys, like Keaton Jennings also was a pretty good player when he was playing.
Should be back in the team as well.
Yeah, for a while he was in the team. He was pretty good. He was not bad. 2018 season, he had a pretty decent season. So I don't understand what England are really trying to do. But yeah, it just seems like they're all over the place at the moment.
Si, if you want to go ahead, when Chris is finished, then DT, if you go straight after Sign, please, and then we'll wrap it up with some predictions.
So I also feel Joe Root got his captaincy kind of wrong, and he let his emotions get the better part of him during that tail end period of India's batting. Because how much did our tail enders add up? 50 plus partnership, right? So I feel that was unnecessary of bowling Mark Wood to Bumrah. Even Anderson said that in some interview or something, that Root did get his tactics wrong, and that let us have the advantage, right? We covered up the lead, and then I feel England's top order is really bad. It's going to be 0 for 3 or 0 for 2 again tomorrow. You cannot help it. So at this point of time, England cannot really manage anything, right? Even if you get someone from county cricket who has been playing magnificently, there's no guarantee that he'll be able to succeed. He'll be able to score a 50, maximum 70 also. There's no surety that David Malan can, come and give you the big runs tomorrow. It has to be Joe Root at the end of the day again, along with maybe uh, a few bits from Bairstow, uh, Rory Burns here and there. So, I mean, I don't think England can do anything right now. And also coming to India's, uh, I don't think they really had a sledging strategy. But when the Anderson Bumrah spat happened, I feel at the end of the day when they were talking while on their way out, I feel that is what fired up Virat. Looking at his and Anderson's old rivalry, and I feel that might continue into this match also.
Uh, you know, Virat
Aditya?
Kohli generally is a Virat Kohli generally as a test captain has been pretty good tactically. I think it's it's the format of the game that he probably captains the best, and part of the reason is because I think it requires a lot of patience and that lot of attrition, and it's a degree of consistency that he understands. Uh, so I think what he did with the bowlers in that fourth innings at Lords was outstanding, and I'm hoping that he'll manage the bowlers in the same way in the next Test match as well. Because remember, we're playing in Leeds after 19 years, so we don't have any recent experience of having played at Headingley. Uh, you know, in addition, I'd like to see a better batting performance from India because um, despite the heroics of Shami and Bumrah towards the end, and KR Rahul and Rohit Sharma hitting some pretty good runs, it's important for a collective batting performance to really dominate a test match and bat just once. I thought the 369 was a great score in that innings, but I thought given the resources that we have, it could have been like a 440, 450, and that's something that Virat Kohli would want to focus on. And uh, I do think that uh, his triple hundred tomorrow will contribute to that. In um, with respect to England, I want to make a comment on what Sunil Gavaskar said after uh, after the second Test match ended, and he went pretty deep into the techniques of some of the English batsmen, and he quite bluntly called it ludicrous. Uh, so I don't know what's going on with the county system, but again, as Nasser Hussain also said, there's like this reinvention of the wheel where they seem to be changing the fundamentals of Test match batting, and it isn't really working for them. Because runs are currency. Look, when Fawad Alam for Pakistan scores runs with an unusual technique, we can offer that scrutiny as much as we want to, but he's scoring runs. So you tend to leave them alone. Burns and Sibley are not doing the same thing, and Burns is probably one or two Test matches away from being dropped if he doesn't perform. And Sibley again, he couldn't score a run. So I'm sure there must be a sense of relief there as well. But England have some serious challenges with their batting. And just to address something that Joe said earlier as well, about players being able to adapt quickly between formats. Uh, Over the last couple of years, evidence has shown from Australia that having a big bash in the middle of the Sheffield Shield has been terribly detrimental to the form of Australian batsmen because they simply haven't been able to score big runs even at home in the absence of Smith and Warner and Labuschagne scoring big runs. So there are some holes there as well. So I don't think England would want to make that same mistake. Whereas if you look at how India has set up its domestic system, there's a consistent run that players get through the course of a season where they get the time to sort of develop their technique and build on some form. Uh, but in saying that, I think India will go tomorrow as favourites, and it would be a miracle for England's top order to really produce something and uh, perhaps engineer a victory. But I don't see that happening.
Okay, thank you for that, Aditya. I know I want to wrap it up, but I did want to discuss, obviously, Joe Root quickly. Discussing, talking about captains. Joe, I'll start with you, then go to Rajiv. Do you feel, obviously, Root this year has been absolutely phenomenal, 1,271 runs on the calendar year, absolutely incredible stuff from Root. He's obviously found a balance between captaincy and batting, you could say. Obviously, led from the front very much so in this series in particular. However, do you feel like a loss in this series will be the penultimate nail in the coffin before the inevitable massacre down under in a couple of months' time? Do you feel a loss here, then obviously with a loss Australia, which let's say they do lose, do you think that will be the end of Joe Root? Or do you feel that he's got more to give? And part of that being that I don't see a real enabled deputy in the ranks. I don't see Rory Burns be able to step up. I don't see Ben Stokes being a guy you would give captaincy when he's a 3-format player. Is maybe Joe Root will continue to stay on by default? Or do you feel he is the right man for the job, irrespective of the results against India and Australia over the next 5 months? I'll start with you, Joe, and then Rajiv, because I cut out again. I'll go straight to Rajiv afterwards.
Yeah, I think first I do think England will lose the Ashes. I don't think they have much of a chance, regardless of Australia's form. I just think England are not good enough, to be honest, especially batting wise. So yeah, I do think England would lose the Ashes, but I don't think it's necessarily going to be Joe Root's fault. At the end of the day, he has to score. I reckon he has to score half the runs, to get England up to a substantial total. Obviously in this series and in the Ashes as well. So it's not going to be Joe Root's fault. Captaincy wise, he himself, to be fair, said he didn't get the tactics right on the last day of the Lord's Test, which, fair enough, coming out and saying that's, I appreciate that. But I don't think you can blame Joe Root at the end of the day. No one else is scoring runs. And whilst he has to, it's not easy captaining at the best of times, but when you have to carry the whole batting lineup by expecting to score 100 every game, it's I would imagine now impossible. So, the fact that he can even captain England, being the best player, is a miracle, and it's not worked for people in the past. You think of Kevin Peterson, didn't work captaining England for him. Flintoff didn't work out for him. Just to name 2 examples. So I think Joe Root is doing a decent job. And like you say, I don't see any replacements. I don't think Josh Butler's the man. I don't think Ben Stokes is the man. I don't think Rory Burns is the man. So who do you turn to? People are saying last year they were saying Owen Morgan. But why would you put Owen Morgan in the Test team? He's not going to score, probably not going to score you many runs. I don't know the last time he played a red ball game. He's a great captain, but England don't have a Virat, or on the other end of the spectrum, don't have a Kane Williamson. So there's nobody who can kind of step up to the plate.
If they brought Owen Morgan back as even he were near that set, I'd stop supporting England until that guy was gone. I've seen comments about bringing Owen Morgan back into the team. They've got people who's got short fucking memories about, about Owen Morgan. I mean, I'd love to pull up his stats for Middlesex over the past 5 years. They're horrendous. I'd rather give Sign a bat, let him go out there and get Owen Morgan at Test level, honestly. But because obviously, I think because of captain credentials, it just doesn't work that way. But honestly, Owen Morgan, anyway, we're going to go down that road. I know we've got KKR super fan in the house with Sion here, so I don't want to criticize Morgan too much. Do you know what I mean? But anyways, Rajiv, we should get your comments on Joe Root and obviously his position. Will it become? Do you feel it'll be untenable really if they get beat Australia? Let's say they get a hiding, which I think we all expect them they will do. Do you think his position becomes untenable, or do you still feel there's some mileage there?
I don't think it will, because as you both pointed out already, is that there's no viable alternative. So that will probably save Joe Root. The only issue is if Joe Root wants to stay on, I think it'll be more his decision rather than anyone else's. His form
That's a good point.
It could be actually his decision to resign if, and I'll come back to that point, if England lose to Australia and India now, the two bigger heavyweights in the calendar in the cricket circuit. And yeah, the other candidates, they're not viable because they're not worth their place in the side on a consistent level. I think in the top 6, it's only Joe Root who is. It's a bit like Alan Border in the late 80s with Australia.
Stokes too, as well when he's back.
Okay.
Stokes too as well when he's back.
Yes, yeah, sorry, yeah. The Stokes has taken the time off. So, and I think we're all saying we're already writing off England. Well, hang on a minute. The first test was drawn. Okay, could India have won on that last day? We weren't never able to find out. England could have taken some wickets there. We don't know. And in the second test, as Aditya has correctly pointed out, India on the Monday morning when both teams went out, the things were in favour of England, and it was because of those last few wickets. They went out and slogged a bit. I'm not taking anything away from India, of course I'm not. But the match was right down to the wire until about 11:45 on Monday morning, when everything went a bit wrong. And that's the beauty of Test cricket. Things can just shift within 90 minutes, which it did. And it could easily have gone the other way. You remember, Pant was out early on Monday morning. So, and also, let's not forget, India have not won in England since 2007 when Rahul Dravid came. And in 2014, England were 1-0 down after losing the Lord's Test, and they came back to win, I think, 3-1. I might have got that wrong, but it was either 2-1 or 3-1. And in 2018, England again won. So, and let's not forget that I was looking at Virat Kohli, as much as we all love him, because he is one of the legends of the game, and he's a beautiful batsman to watch. His average in England is probably about 35. And he got a beautiful first ball at Trent Bridge, and Headingley is going to suit Jimmy Anderson. So I don't think we should be, Indians need to be careful now and think, well, hang on, the series is like, see, we're laughing, that this series is not wrapped up. There are 3 test matches to go. And Kohli, I'm sorry, his average here is way below his career average, about 15 runs, I would say, maybe more. Pujara, as we've mentioned, is struggling. So Rahane, it's not all doom and gloom. And trust me, Headingley tomorrow with Jimmy Anderson, I can see all the Indians smirking at what I'm saying here, thinking, whose side is he on? I'm actually ethnically Sri Lankan, by the way. So, but anyway, just in case you're wondering. England tomorrow can show some fight. And me being an England supporter, hopes that they do. And can I, Shay, bring on that issue about Virat Kohli? Is that a time now, or don't want me to mention that? Cool.
Me and Shay are being very pessimistic, I would say.
Sorry?
Me and Shay are very pessimistic.
I'm not. Jimmy Anderson, the Headingley.
Oh, you're just very optimistic.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying that you've got to look at all the components of the test match and see how it all changed. I'm not trying to take anything away. It was a great win for India, don't get me wrong. And they showed power and passion, and it was brilliant to watch. I was there for 2 of the days, so, I loved every bit of it. But Shay, can I bring on that issue about Virat Kohli as captain, or you don't want me to mention that now? Or
yeah, go for it.
Yep.
No. Listen, you want to stir the pot. You got Shine here. Trust me, he'd love to get involved with this. If I'm cutting out and you guys want to jump in, feel free to have a chat. Just because this stream is absolutely horrendous on my side. Apologies. But if you guys want to carry on, I can see Rajiv is on the wind up here a little bit. I can tell from the smirk on his face. I can see Science just reeling
I was just going to, I mean, further
you
to
crack
what
on, lads, because I'm going to listen back to this. If you can hear me now, I'm going to listen back to this later on.
Sure.
But I am looking forward to it. But Rajiv, you crack on, mate. You go for it. You go for it, fella.
Sure. Yeah, sure. And just to annoy my Indian colleagues on this chat and the Indians who are watching this, I just think watching the test match there, I go back to sort of the likes of Rahul Dravid, who I grew up watching, Sachin Tendulkar. They weren't just amazing batsmen. They were gentlemen. They were absolute gentlemen. And they're 2 of my heroes, probably Rahul Dravid more. And they did let their bats do the talking. Anil Kumble did let the ball do the talking. VVS Lakshman, maybe not so much Ganguly. But these guys represented India with pride, and they'd never sort of resorted to this kind of intimidation and sledging and any of this rubbish. And I think Virat Kohli needs to be careful now because he is starting to, if not cross the line. And as one of the examples, and he's the captain, he's responsible. So, when England start their second innings on Monday, when Rory Burns and Dom Sibley came out to bat, the staring competition from mid-off, I think it was Bumrah, correct me if I'm wrong, but one of the Indian bowlers was just giving it him and he was out fifth ball, whatever. I mean, come on, just stop this. And also, it's actually quite embarrassing, and I don't mean to be offensive here, but wait, let me finish. I don't mean to be offensive here, but the average height of a South Asian is 5'8". The England players aren't going to be intimidated and scared about someone who's coming up to them and trying to be a gangster. When Curtly Ambrose did it to Steve Waugh, fine. Curtly Ambrose is 6'8", be scared, be intimidated. Virat Kohli is 5'9" and weighs 70 kilos. He is not going to be scaring Jimmy Anderson. And this gangster kind of persona and I think, just to really wind you up even more, I think it's reflective of India's clout now on the global scale. And I can see a lot of people laughing here. India's clout on the global scale, not just in cricket, but in economic-wise, etc. They've become like this powerhouse. And I think they've started to become bullies, both as administrators, and that has translated into the players. And you're getting this attitude and Hardwick's gangster lifestyle and earrings and all this. Guys, you're 5'8". You're not scaring anyone. It's embarrassing. Please, just play humbly, like the way Gavaskar used to do, like the way maybe not so much Gavaskar. Look at Dravid and look what a great ambassador he is for Indian cricket. You're not from Compton, South Central LA. Just get over it. I'll leave it to you guys now to.
Okay. There's so much to say, but Jafar Motion, you go ahead first.
Okay, Rajiv, I hope you watched the whole match. And can I just ask you one thing?
Sure.
Who started the banter? At the end of the day, who started the banter? Was it Virat? Was it Bumrah? Who was it?
I'm not talking specifically on this test. I'm just saying generally over the last few years. I'm not specifically talking about this.
What I feel actually is Virat has piped down a lot, right? But when a 39-year-old crybaby gave it to Bumrah at the end of the day, so he had to get back. He wasn't getting bullied by him.
Do you not think he had a point though, signing there, 10 ball over, just aiming for his head, just is there to rub him the wrong way? Do you think that was tactical? It wasn't obviously a dodgy over from Bumrah.
Okay. One more instance. Australia, back the first test, right, the 36 all-out test, or the second one, Pat Cummins, Josh Hazelwood, everyone was going on Mohammad Shami, bounces, 6 bounces in an over, no one batted an eye. But just because, I don't know, Anderson hasn't he got a clear vision or something, so he can't take 6 bounces in an over?
No, that's two different things. Bowling the bounces is one thing, and the intimidatory bowling is one thing. You keep that to one side. I'm talking about the histrionics and the verbals afterwards, and this kind of descent into this kind of gangster lifestyle, which it's just not India. It's just not. You got to remember that. And also, my other point is, just because some other team does it doesn't mean you have to stoop to that level. When Butler came out to bat on Monday, and I will use now the test match, the way Virat Kohli came up to him and started giving it all of this, and it's just like. And it's not just India. I'm not having a go India. I'll bring in the Sri Lanka when Ranatunga was, he crossed the line. He was a nuisance and a pain.
Sangu was also.
I'm not just saying it's India.
Sangu was terrible at times. Sangu in his younger day. In his younger days, he was a disgrace as well.
Yeah, they're trying to replicate what they think is the cool thing to do because the Australians are doing it, or the Western nations are doing it. I'll include the West Indies in the Western pot. You don't need to do that. If you look at all the greatest players, none of them actually stooped to that level. Tendulkar didn't. Absolute gentleman. Dravid, I keep bringing back to him. Kumble, you don't need to do this. Even Wasim Akram, Imran Khan, Mahela Jayawardene, absolute gentleman. And the New Zealand team, look how well behaved they are. Kanya Williamson. You could have a little banter and like a bit of a needle, like the way McGrath and Lara did. Yeah, that's fine, but it doesn't get personal. It's not like
McGrath was also a bit of a scumbag. I mean,
but that particular duel I'm talking about before these guys were born, it was exciting for the match. But I'm looking forward to what Krishna's going to say to me now. You have the same surname as me as well.
Just like Chris as well. Raji's favourite cricketer of all time is Mr. David Gower. Just to put it in perspective, but Rajiv is absolutely. I love Rajiv, man. You know why I love Rajiv? Because he's absolute test purist. He absolutely had the heart of him, because this guy's wrote a great book on cricket. Do you know what I mean? He loves cricket, but he's very much of my. I mean, I don't mind a bit of white ball. This guy despises 100 IPL, anything listening on like test cricket. I just love it, because it's not many people like Rajiv anymore. Do you know what I mean? But people are moving towards white ball stuff. Anyway, I'll stop. Krishna, it's your time to retort now, mate.
It's funny how like when India sledges, or actually when anyone sledges India, when Australia sledges India, when England sledges India should just be gentlemen, and they should take it, and we should be very humble and very pure, and we should be so sweet and kind. Oh ho, we are such gentlemen. But when we give it back to England, they're like, oh, India is, how can India do this? How dare they come at me? How can India sledge me? And then they start crying. It's Australia. Every time anytime Australia can sledge anyone they want. They can. McGrath can be in your face. Steve Smith can be in your face. David Warner can say Rohit Sharma doesn't speak good English, and we should be all right with it. But when we come at them, oh no, how dare they? Oh my God! And then they start crying. So England do it all the time. Now Australia do it all the time. Now England's doing it. It's fine. We're used to it as Indians. We're not. If you guys want to be hypocrites, you guys anyways are hypocrites, so it's fine.
Wait, just one question here. Can you remind me who said this one? Please move, you fucking knobhead.
Who said that?
Who said that?
Who said that?
Who said that? I don't think you might know it. Josh Butler.
Josh was to Philander.
Oh, that was Philander. That was
in his last test match. Yeah. In his last test match.
What did he say? I missed that one.
That was in Cape Town, no?
He said
Cape Town. You remember?
Fucking knobhead.
Yeah, it was
Philander. Vernon Philander.
Yeah, to Philander.
Yeah.
Philander said something about why you win the test. You don't belong at test level. It was a really good retort, I think, from Philander.
Point. And also the other thing is just that when you give all the attitude at the beginning of a series, just be careful, because it can come to bite you later on if India don't match up their talk with their performances. So that's another reason to rein it in. And I think I'm not just criticizing India. Of course I'm not. Why would I? No, why would I? No, why would I? My name is Rajiv Radhakrishnan. Come on, you can't get a more Indian name than that. So what I'm saying is that I think across the board there needs to be sort of a rein in now with all this kind of history. Have the little banter and the little needle. That's fine. I'm absolutely fine. But at the end of the day, you don't need to do all of this stuff that when that guy Roy Burns came out in the second innings. Come on, you've got to admit he came in from mid off or wherever it was. It was too much. It's a Lord's Test match. Show some respect. You don't need to. I'm not saying England are angels. I'm not saying that either. Maybe I should have sort of said it at the beginning that this is happening across the board, but it just seems a bit more humorous when. I have to say this, and I'm from Sri Lanka, so I can get away with it. It's when someone who's 5'8" is coming up to challenge someone who's, it just looks a bit pathetic, really, and it's embarrassing.
Ask that to Anderson.
I'm 6 foot, by the way. Anyway, carry on.
Yeah, I'm saying ask that to Anderson when Bumrah was bowling. Oh. And Bumrah is, mind you, Bumrah is 5'5". Not more than that.
Yeah. No, also, you know what I find interesting about this whole discussion. Not just the hypocrisy. Also, you guys, you mentioned that Hardik Pandya's he's trying to cultivate some attitude, and he's trying to be someone else. No. Hardik has always been Hardik. Hardik is just being Hardik. Hardik is just Hardicking around. He's always there. All right, and at least he has a personality, like unlike most English cricketers. But it's nice.
Sticking it in there, man.
It's nice to see. It's nice to see. They usually say those who don't have personality criticize other people's personalities, but it's fine. It's all good, and it's all in good humor. And you say this banter is not like India. It's not. It's just this is many years of repressed emotions that we've kept. And now that we have some I guess standing, we have some platform, and we have a good ranking, we're allowed to talk like this. We are and we're not trying to show some histrionics and sort of talk before the series and say, oh my God, what's going to happen? India's now losing the plot, and India talked too much before the series. No, we're just being ourselves. We're Indians. We're very happy. We're very comfortable in our position in the series right now, and we'll be more and more comfortable as the series goes on. So.
Of course,
I think this is an entire subplot. It's a completely different video we should do on this. I always feel like India. I mean, Rajiv will remember that when he come over in 1990, for example, Coach Indian Summer, the guys like Manoj Prabhakar, and then later on people like Javigar Srinath, Venkatesh Prasad, all these guys. Aditi had to go. That's why he's left the stream.
I thought I'd upset him.
So no, it's not. That guy cannot be ruffled. It's only you've talked to the right two people here. Trust me. But those guys. I think Krishna and Sayan. We're used to Indian teams coming up, especially in the 90s. As I mentioned before, Javigar Srinath and Venkatesh Prasad, Manoj Prabhakar, Navjot Sidhu. These guys come up with with their moustaches and the old school kind of Indian type look about them, and just just roll over and get smashed. And I think. For me, Dhoni was the one who brought through a new era of Indian cricket with the mullet and the motorbike and all the kind of like almost, dare I say, it's almost insulting to say a westernized attitude, but it almost was a very much a progressive approach to cricket and life, it seemed. And that I think that's actually indicative, my understanding, of Indian culture amongst the younger population now. Like, look at Sayan, look at Krishna. I think India 30 years ago is not what India is now. I've never been to India, so I can't comment properly. You guys can tell me. But I feel like the generation of you guys coming up, you guys in early 20s, and not guys early 20s from the 1990s. I think the way you think is different. It's completely more open-minded how you feel. And I think that translates into sport and the arts, etc., and how everything. So I think that's why that Virat Kohli has kind of gripped the nation. And I think that's just how India are now. I think how they play their cricket is almost like how the country has progressed. If that makes sense in a roundabout way.
Yeah, no, I see exactly what you're saying, Shay, and it's brilliant. But and what I'm saying is India doesn't need to behave like it's a well-known fact. India produce the great intellectual endeavors, mainly from the south, like the Tamil people. But anyway, so joking. So they produce like
science.
I had to put that in there. They produce like being serious. Yeah, you got the great scientists, the mathematicians, Ramanujan, the great thing. They've done all of that, arts, culture, history. It's all there. I'm not trying to. Why would I? I'm Tamil. I'm Tamil Sri Lankan, but we know where Tamil Sri Lankans originate from. So it's all great. I'm just saying, and the prosperity that it's brought with the cricket and the power, it's all great. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I absolutely love it and I embrace it, and it's great. And I've been to India a few times, and it's my home country as far as I'm concerned. And all I'm saying is, there's no need to cross that line and go down to that kind of level. They're better than that. That's what I'm saying. Be like Dravid. That's all. If every Indian gentleman and every Indian lady was like Rahul Dravid, that's all we have to aim for.
But then Rajiv, quickly before we go to Sayan.
Can I go once?
I just want to say quick one thing. Just that. Then should everyone be like David Gower in the current England?
No, because I think he had a concentration problem, so maybe not, or lack of.
Okay. Can I just add on?
Sorry, comment, yeah.
Yeah. If every man and woman in India was like Rahul Dravid, we would still be in 1947.
No, you wouldn't. No. Rahul Dravid has taken India forward. Rahul Dravid was probably India's best batsman.
Rahul Dravid, along with Saurav Ganguly, along with Virendra Sehwag, Sachin Tendulkar, and the others, have taken Indian cricket forward.
I think Ganguly also, that was one. Ganguly.
Yeah. Rahul Dravid did it without any of the he did it in the correct way. He did it in the nice guy way. You can't say if it was Rahul Dravid, everyone would be back in 1940. No, Rahul Dravid's a highly educated, respected guy who is now a coach of one of the junior teams. And you cannot say that just because of him. No, if everyone's like Tendulkar, Dravid, you don't need to be like, Ranatunga, Javid, that kind of aggressive, you don't need all of that. India will succeed and have succeeded with gentlemen, and they have. You look at
your point is quite valid, being like you have seen someone like Rahul Dravid, Kapil Dev, anyway. So what I grew up watching, the first time I watched an Indian sledge was Virat Kohli, right? And that's kind of like an aggressive impact that it has never had, because even let's accept that Dhoni was never that aggressive on his face, right? He was an aggressive captain, but he was not aggressive on face. But when Virat Kohli brought that impact onto Indian cricket, it kind of changed in the Test arena, right? Because after that, we've been winning everywhere. Only South Africa left and New Zealand.
True. And just on a side point, what does Virat mean in the north, in North India? What does Virat mean?
Virat is what North India is. Like
What does it mean? The etymology. What does Virat mean? In what does it mean? What does it translate to?
I think the word. What is the literal meaning of the word Virat?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Virat means great.
It means great. Yeah. And what does Kohli mean in the south?
There's a joke coming in it.
Oh, I know what you're trying to get at, Rajiv. I know what you're trying to, because I know Tamil. I speak Tamil. So I know what you
it's chicken. I know that much.
A great chicken, but obviously he's not. He's not. But that was just a bit of me being silly there. But no, it's. I just want to say to India, all these things, it might come back and bite you. That's what I'm saying. Wait till the series is over, and then have that arrogance and well, not even then. You don't need it. But anyway, look, I'm not trying to offend anyone. I hope I haven't, because that's the last thing I want to do.
Oh no, I'm damn offended. I mean, I'm completely offended.
I can see you laughing. Yeah, I mean, all my best friends are India, and it wasn't just India. I was saying about Pakistan, Javed Miandad, Ranatunga, Ganguly. So Sangakkara, he could be a very abrasive character. There's no need for it. Someone of his stature, his education, why did he behave the way he did in his early 20s? But that's probably what it was. It was his early 20s. So I think I think it's nice just to I think, like when I read in Tendulkar's book, he said that his parents wanted him to be first known as a good person and then as a good cricketer. And I think that's my point. Be good people first, and the good cricket can come secondary. That doesn't mean be meek and apologetic. It doesn't mean lie down. I'm not saying that. It means be confident and don't take anything. But you don't have to stoop to that kind of guttural kind of, sledging and abuse and personal, invasion of space and all that. So that's all I'm saying.
Sorry, Christian. I was just going to Joe. Joe's getting. By the way, Joe's light's getting darker and darker. I'm not sure if it was just over the window.
I don't have a light on. I just had the sun, but the sun's gone down.
I was going to say this natural, like it's the sun.
The sun is just dropped below the houses in front of me.
Now Joe looks like
you just see your neck, just about.
Looks like you're talking about prison cell, man. Seriously.
Yeah,
I'll put a light on. I can put a light on. 1 second.
Put lights on, mate. Yeah, put lights on. Couldn't really see him, man.
Can I just
without a little bit of banter?
You go, Christian. I just wanted Joe to speak. I want you to speak on this.
No, I have a genuinely serious rebuttal to Rajiv. My only thing is, if everyone were like Tendulkar and Dravid, everyone played like Tendulkar and Dravid, if every human being in India was like Tendulkar and Dravid, then we would not look up to Tendulkar and Dravid, and we wouldn't honor them as much as we do. And also, in addition, Test cricket needs to evolve. It's not just the game like Test cricket that needs to evolve. Of course, Indian Test cricket needs to evolve. English Test cricket needs to evolve. So we can't keep looking to the past and saying, okay, we want to be this. We need to be this type of character. We need to be this type of person, because then we don't evolve. We're still stuck in the past, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the reason.
That's a great point, Krishna. Absolutely. I'm not denying that the game has to evolve. I'm not saying, it's great that you get Dhoni coming in and playing the helicopter shot. It's great that you have an opener in Sehwag who comes out and wants to attack from ball one. I love watching Virender Sehwag. One of the great spectacles of the early millennium was watching Sehwag. I mean, fantastic batsman, nearly 3 triple centuries, going at probably a run a ball. Fantastic stuff. And yes, the game has to evolve. The game has to evolve in the sense that you're going to have these different hits. You're playing in the 360. It's not just the V. And we must give a lot of the Asians credit for that, with the dill scoops and the helicopters and all that kind of stuff, which lead to those great Pepsi adverts, which you probably may not remember. But that doesn't mean your behavior has to drop. Like, remember when Australia were the greatest side? When Australia were the greatest side before you were born, or just after you were born, they started to cross lines. Darren Lehman coming out with racist remark against the Sri Lankan players. I'm not going to repeat it. Then McGrath and Lara in a very, I'm not talking about the 99 one, which was really a good one. This was like a real disgusting kind of, Ramner Shah one and McGrath. There was a lot of attitude, a lot of racism. a lot of things which are still happening, and now we're finding out it's happening within South Africa. I'm not, we need to stop all of that kind of behavior, and that's all it was. The evolution of the game has to happen, and I'm not saying everyone has to be like Dravid. Okay, I know I meant it as in, if you have that as a stock skill set of how you want to behave in life, those are two good gentlemen, two decent people that you would like to emulate in your character. I mean, if I asked you, would someone like to compare you to Rahul Dravid, or someone like to compare you to Javed Yandad? Who would you like to be compared with? Forget the India-Pakistan thing. Who would you like to be compared with? I know your answer, Rahul Dravid, right? So, I'm not talking about cricket ability here. I'm not talking about that. So that's what I'm saying. Two different things.
I think people nowadays rather be compared to Virat Kohli ahead of a Dravid or any guys like that. I think it's much more exciting and interesting to be compared. On that, yeah. See, I actually want to get your opinion, Joe. You don't want to question because Joe's been sitting for a while now.
Sure.
I mean, what's your opinion on this, Joe? Obviously, like the approach to Test cricket nowadays. I thought for a long time that this idea of it's a gentleman's game is complete bullshit. And it has for some time now. Like, it ain't a fucking gentleman's game anymore. I know, Rajiv, you and I, like, we still reminisce a lot as on our videos all the time. But for me, the game, as Chris said, evolved. It's not a gentleman's game anymore. It's a nasty game a lot of the time. We've seen that over the last 10, 15 years in particular. But, Joe, I mean, do you feel like Kohli has crossed the line with his approach to the game? Or does he just do what it needs to win? Because the guy is an absolute winner. Call it what you want. The dude's a winner. So he's just doing what is ever required to win. Would you be happy if Joe Root employed the same tactics overseas in India or Australia, or would you be disgusted by it?
Well, as long as you don't cross the line, as in you offend someone, you're racist to them, whatever. As long as that doesn't happen, of course, then I don't really think there's
like with that Shannon Gabriel comment, the gay comment he made.
Oh yeah, that's crossing the line to me.
So obviously, yeah. So discrimination.
So as long as you're not racist, discrimination. As long as you don't discriminate anyone, then and you don't, physically like harm someone, or offend them in a way that makes them feel rubbish about themselves. I don't really think there's a point of crossing the line. But obviously I don't hear what Kohli says necessarily up close. You can only pick up what you can on stump cam, but for me, Virat Kohli he's just a very passionate guy, and he just shows that through cricket, and that's just how he is. That's just the nature of him as a guy.
Our captain's a throwback. Our captain Rajiv probably loves because he's just very quiet and mild-mannered and gets on with his cricket. He's not like Virat Kohli. He's complete opposite. I think he's a wonderful ambassador for the sport personally, Joe Root. Yeah, but I also think Virat Kohli is as well.
And that's what I was saying before about Kane Williamson as well. There's not enough Virat Kohlis in the game. There's not enough Kane Williamsons in the game. So it depends which way you want to look at it, because
I think it's more Kane Williamson and Joe Roots than there is Virat Kohli's. I think that's why Kohli sticks out because there's less people like Kohli.
But you look at Joe Root and Kanye Williamson, they've gone about it and they've got the same record, identical pretty much to Kohli, pretty much. In terms of the captains, well, maybe not so much, but they're not walkovers. I'm not saying to be meek and let anyone walk over you. I'm not saying that. Joe Root is still
about the way you go about
it. He's still a tough captain. Yeah, he's still a tough captain, as is Kanye Williamson. We know who's boss when they're out there, but they don't cross that line where Kohli sometimes is getting there, and I'm concerned that it's going to be pushed and pushed and pushed. That line is going to be, where do you draw that line? No one knows where that line is, but I'm afraid he's bordering on, or perhaps crossed that line a few times, and I think he has to realize that he's representing 1 billion people. When you're the Indian captain, you're not just the captain of those 11 people, 10 people. You are the captain of 1 billion people. You need to know that. That's the respect that you have. It's the most important job in India. And he's not a cheat like Steve Smith.
They say the same thing about Australia, don't they? About Australia, the most important job in Australia is a cricket captain, more than the Prime Minister.
Yeah, and the West Indies, because he's more powerful than all the prime ministers of each island. So, but in India, I think it's taken on with India's recent rise in the game. It's taken on probably more of more gravity, the Indian captaincy in the last 20 years, definitely. And it's something that is a sacred thing and sacred institution, and therefore the person who occupies that seat has to behave in a particular way. And I know Krishna is not agreeing with me on this. He's saying, look, Virat Kohli is lively, he's exciting, he's out there, he's passionate. Of course, I agree with all of that. I know that. But I think he needs to be mindful of that line. But go ahead, Krishna.
Go ahead.
My only thing is, okay, you said, Joe said, what exactly defines crossing the line, right? Joe said that being offensive, being discriminatory, being racist, right? All these things are all these things are crossing the line. Where is Virat Kohli crossed the line in terms of that definition? He's not at all.
I don't think Joe said that though. I don't think Joe was saying that.
No, but Rajiv was saying that.
He was saying it to me. He was saying it to me. No, I fully agree with what you're saying. I've never said that Kohli has ever said anything racist. And of course,
no. But you're saying that you're afraid that Kohli might become that. Kohli will never become that. He's never been racist. He's never been discriminatory.
I never said. No. I never said.
I know you never said. But you're worried that Kohli is going to offend. But Kohli is not even gone close to it. So how can you? So I'm saying the reason for your worries is not founded anywhere. Basically, that's what I'm saying.
Based on the incidents that have happened in the recent past. You see,
what incidents though?
It's just
he just said we're going to get you out.
I've never said he has been or will be racist. That's something level. Never. Kohli is not like that. I can assure you that. 100%. I never said that, and past or future or present, no way with Kohli. Let's draw a line under that. However, when I say he may cross that line, I'm talking about he may get in the face of someone, say something personal, not racist, but sometimes get a bit too aggressive, like the way when Butler came in on the Monday of the Lord's Test. It's teetering on the edge now, and I'm hoping that with all the success that India is enjoying, I'm hoping it doesn't get to his head, and he remembers that. Also, my other point is it can come back and bite you in the ass if India do not go on to win the series. So you've got to think of all those things. And remember,
Chief is right about that. That is true. If India somehow come back to win the series,
what personal was said? Yeah. What personal comment did Kohli make?
He said, he told Butler that this is not white ball cricket.
Yeah, that's banter. That's fine. That's absolutely
fine. Not personal. That's not personal at all.
No, I never said it was. I'm just saying that the fact is he comes across on the TV cameras as in your face, like aggressive, and and like not just Kohli, he has to police the other players. So that guy at mid-off, I can't remember who it was. You guys know, right? On the Monday, in the first over, when Rory Burns came out to bat and he got out in the first over, he hit the first ball, he defended it or left it or whatever, and that guy from mid-off is coming up to him into his face. Kohli has to police it, not just himself, but the other 10 people on the field. There was no need for that. There was no need for that.
Rajiv, when you play cricket, don't you also say stuff like, come on, batsmen shivering, like very basic. These are the most basic sledges of all time. But you say it with fire, you say it with passion, right? You do, right? You say it with fire, you say it with passion. Where is that teetering on the edge? How is that teetering on the edge? How is that personal?
Another point. So the thing is, if we see the WTC final also, there was no sledging, right? Even back in the India series, home series, there was no sledging, if I'm not wrong, right? When did the sledging start? When Jimmy Anderson got into the face of Bumrah. Technically,
I'm not saying England was against.
No. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, technically, Virat Kohli started sledging at that time when one of his players were under threat, or one of his players was sledged, or abused that or something. I'm not saying he abused or anything, but I'm just saying that.
Defending his players.
Technically, yeah.
So is that what you're getting at? Like he's defending his players.
Sorry, say that again.
Then
Joe's saying defending his players. I mean, that's a natural.
Yeah, technically,
would do that.
I think we're going to have to. I just felt, and I'll go back to my point. Indian players of the past who are just equally as successful. They may not have been as rich. They may not have been as powerful, but they were still as successful. They went about it in a more dignified manner, and they still won. And I think there's more than one way. We're not going to agree to this. You guys are sort of new India, new passion, that's great. New India, new passion, new excitement. Of course, India's becoming, or should have become, in fact, it's been slowed for other reasons, which are outside the scope of this. A global force, not just on the cricket field, but in every other sort of in a lot of other areas, which is great. You know, I love it. It's exciting. It's good. It's good for 1 billion people. Great. And my point was that has translated into a more confident approach to the cricket, which is fine again. But I just hope that confidence doesn't turn into arrogance. And I'm a stickler for that. I'll say that for England team, Australia team. And I'm not saying, oh, Indians should know their part. Of course, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that you guys were all brought up in a particular way, which is not to be meek or, you know, to be walking over. I'm not saying that. But just have a respect for a game that was given to the Asia by the British, with the greatest gift that they ever gave us, apart from the railways. And, you know, that's something that should be treated with respect. And I think, you know, Dravid, Gavaskar and those guys did it. I'm just hoping Kohli gives that seat of power the respect that it deserves. But we'll draw a line there. We won't have any more on that because I think we're not going to agree to it. But as long as I haven't offended anyone.
Last point.
Good.
Okay.
Yeah, go
okay.
ahead. Sign go. You go.
Okay. Okay. Go on, Sign.
Okay. So what the media was talking about before this year, like till after 2019, right? That Virat Kohli has piped down a lot because the Virat of 2016 or 2015 used to be in everyone's face. Like at that time, I also didn't like him a lot because he used to get in everyone's face. But now he has piped down a lot. And this is, I think, the only single incident in the last 2 years where you can clearly point out that, yes, he has been sledging and it's visible, right? That is my only point, that you're saying the new passion, everything. Yeah, that's all into the game. It's not like new passion means like we're going into everyone's face, we are abusing, we are sledging. No, it's not that. You won't see in the last 2 years.
Answer me this. It's Viv Richards who's out there, yeah? Would Kohli have the guts to go up to him and sledge him? Now, I'll give you an example. Before you guys were born, 1998, 1999, Roshan Mahanama, Sri Lankan player, you may not remember him, and Alex Stewart had an altercation on the field, and Alex Stewart elbowed him as he walked past him, yeah? 10 years before that, England were playing the West Indies, and again, there was some kind of issue where Viv Richards appealed furiously and gave them out. The umpire was under pressure. Alex Stewart was at the crease there. In my book I said, Alex Stewart barged Roshan Mahanama. How come he didn't barge Viv Richards? What was the difference? We all know what the difference is. You pick your fights. Would Virat Kohli, Alex Stewart, well, Alex Stewart clearly didn't. If it's Curtly Ambrose, do you think that they're going to do it? Do you think Virat's going to be in the face of Curtly Ambrose looking up like this?
I was going to say, yeah, he's got 6'7".
They are choosing who they're fighting with. Alex Stewart is. We're going off on another point here. I know that. So the Alex Stewart is one example. You would choose that. And I think that's what I'm trying to say. It's like you wouldn't do that with.
They also James Anderson. Let's be honest. Joe's a Lancastrian. He'll tell you. James Anderson. Let's be honest. He's got a massive fucking ego. He's got a massive ego, James Anderson. Yeah, he always has for a long time. When he even Tearaway's 20-year-old, and they knew they could have wound him up. He's an easy go-to. Him and Broad, massive egos. That's what that team was littered with them 10 years ago. That team with Trot and Peterson, etc. But Anderson, you can get at Anderson. Anderson's always been wound up by the Indians. Now I might be crossing the line here a little bit, and apologise for offending anyone here, but I think he's got a kind of a feeling. He's our age, Rajiv. Now he's growing up with India being a certain way how they play the cricket. I always watched it how he's even played against them in the start of his career, and they're not like that. These guys don't come in to lie down and take an L. They come in for the W. Simple as that. They don't come. So I always feel like he's like, you're an hour yard. I remember Paul Collingwood doing the toss with Dhoni in 2009 World Cup, and it was a home game, and it was like a home game from India, and it's mental like, listen. I don't care if you're Indian or not. This is our game. You're in England. Play it our way. And I feel Anderson has the same mentality a little bit towards India. And maybe that's why he gets wound up more by the Indians. Because then he had the spat with Jadeja 3 years ago. Was it 7 years ago?
It was 2014, I think.
14? Was it 18?
I think so. It was 14. And it was the cameras in the stairwell weren't on, so they didn't know who pushed whom. But I'll go back to that. Jimmy Anderson, you pushed Jadeja. Yeah, would you have done that if it was Viv Richards? He wouldn't have dared to.
Anderson's 6'2". He's a big lad. He's wiry.
He still wouldn't have done it to Viv.
I mean,
Viv is probably shorter than 6'2". He wouldn't have done it then.
But Joe, am I right in that what I said about Jim Anderson? He's quite a sensitive bloke, but he's got a big ego. Or am I completely wrong on that?
I mean, obviously, I don't know him personally, so I can only really say what everyone else can see. I guess I don't know. I guess it's different as well watching him phalanx because he is a big ego in comparison to everyone else, or he's a big character, I should say, in comparison to everyone else. He's going into a dressing room where he's the best bowler ever, the best fast bowler ever at least, and you've got guys who are just making a first class debut. So I guess it's hard to compare that in a way, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know him, so I can't really say if he's got a big ego.
I mean, you've watched obviously you watched it over the years, obviously, like we all have. I just feel like he's quite someone you can get at. I think with Jim Anderson, and I think they've done the right thing with their tactics. Personally, I wouldn't mind if England deployed aggressive tactics. I have no problem at all if maybe Joe Root's not the guy, but Ben Stokes went to Stephen Smith in Australia in 3 months' time. Whatever gets you the win, as long as you don't cross that line, but the line, I guess, is a grey area in this conversation. You're looking for the W ultimately, aren't you? You go in to England to tour, you tour Australia. These are the hardest places to win, and you come away with it. Then all's fair in love and war, right? Mm-hmm. Anyway, we need to probably go now, guys. It's been quite long. Chris designed this. Keep it very brief, and I'll just do predictions that we can shoot off.
Sure. No, I just wanted to say that you said with Virat Kohli go with Richards, and you said that Virat Kohli, he's looking at somebody tall, he wouldn't go at them or something like that. You said according to that, Virat Kohli has gone after taller bowlers all the time. James Faulkner, Mitchell Stark, Pat Cummins,
Johnson,
Jimmy Anderson, Mitchell Johnson. I mean, the list is endless. And
Mitchell Johnson in his prime.
Yeah, Virat Kohli is not scared of anyone who's taller than him. I think that seems very.
Basically, if Richards and them were playing in this era, he would have gone to him.
He would have gone 100%.
Yeah, maybe stupid because there's certain places you go and wind up. There's certain places you don't wind up. I think that's the whole point, isn't it? You don't wind up Virat Kohli, for example. But Sion, do you want to wrap up? Or Christian?
And I'm hoping tomorrow at Headingley is going to be an even contest, and I'm looking forward to Jimmy Anderson versus Kohli.
It will Virat Kohli. You said that Virat Kohli doesn't respect Test cricket. I think that's something you said.
No. I never said that. No. I didn't say that.
You said Virat Kohli should have the respect for. You said something like
I said he has to remember that he's the captain of India. I never said he didn't respect Test cricket. I never said that. Okay. I said he has to respect the office that he is holding.
Okay, then I rest my case.
Okay, cool.
All right,
Thank
cool.
You. Are you from Bangalore? Yes. Sorry, we'll carry on later. Sorry, cool. Well, well done with your homeboy.
But I'll say that, Bangalore's answer to Lionel Richie. You should hear it, Christian sing. Richie, you'll see.
Wait, what's that?
Yep. I said Bangalore's answer to Lionel Richie. He's good. He's an R&B crooner, you could say, Christian. There's dulcet tones.
Well,
anyway,
as long as it's not Bangalore's response to R. Kelly, then we're okay. Otherwise, we'd be a bit worried. Yeah.
Let's have a good on that route. Shit. Anyway, okay. So listen, predictions quickly. Who's going to win the Test match? Sion?
India.
Krishna? Oh, you don't predict, do you? Just go on.
No, this one's a little tough because I've spoken a lot today, and I know this. When I usually get a little cocky, then
can I just give a quick start
to mess up? Quick start. I think I'm gonna go draw. For this one.
Okay. Wait, can I just give a quick start?
Okay, go on. Sorry.
India under Virat Kohli have played 13 third matches in a Test series and have never lost one.
Okay,
that's it.
How did you get that stat? Bloody hell. Okay.
It's a crazy one. Rajiv?
Match tied.
We're all expecting 5 days. The weather forecast is reasonable. It's mild, between 17 and 22 degrees, cloudy, but we're all expecting 5 days with no rain. Joe?
India by an innings. I don't think you're going to stand a chance.
Hey! Man, defected big time, isn't it? India by an innings.
No chance. England have no chance.
Now, at least Joe's honest, like me.
No, I don't. You don't get me wrong. Obviously, I want England to win, but I don't think they will.
Yeah. I totally agree with Joe. India, I can't see anything but an India win. They're a far better side. If you combine the India and England 11s, let's be honest. You have Anderson and Root. Who else would you have? It's a 9-2 split. It's ridiculous.
Can I-
Bairstow, what are Bairstow going to play, man? Who's
Bairstow,
Bairstow?
yeah, Bairstow. You know that shit. You know that shit.
can I-
No, yeah,
Your favourite
you always say
player.
because Joe
Your
was on the
favourite player.
That's because you knew Joe was here, innit? Bairstow's number one fan, innit? The
Yeah,
president
and
of the
mine
fan
too.
club.
Can I just say one thing? Shay, do you mind if I just say something?
Yeah, go for it, mate.
I think the fact that the five of us who don't really know each other that well have come together to debate and chew the fat of the current Test series, to me, says how important Test cricket is to both England and India. And I think this is an indicative example of how excited we are tomorrow. We're predicting. We don't do this with the stupid 100. We don't do it at maybe in 50 over if it's a World Cup. We don't do it in the other formats. This is why we love cricket, and it's people like us that keep this game alive, and why we hold it with such close to our hearts. And I think it's great. And then we can debate and argue and disagree, like I have with Krishna and Jaffa, and have our arguments all in good nature. And I think it's fantastic. So, and I think it's great that Shay brings us together to do this.
No, I just thank for you guys coming on. Thanks for your patience as well. I mean, my stream was totally fucked for the first 40 minutes. And that's why I've just talked so much now, because I've really enjoyed listening to you guys, genuinely. I missed out so much that first 40 minutes until my colleague left. I think that's why she left. She was smashing all the Wi-Fi, taking the bandwidth, I think. As soon as she's gone, it's gone like perfect. So
nice. We got a nice family ending to the podcast. All's well that ends well.
Indeed, happy. Yeah. I'm very much
well done, Rajiv. Well done.
One thing I will say about Rajiv as well is what he said, very true, because what I think Rajiv to point out, Joe and Saeed and Krishna are like very young compared to you and I, and they love in Test cricket, which I think is really built up for the future, that it's not dead, that the new generation coming through of cricket fans still loves Test cricket. On that note, I am doing a podcast on the 100. just announce that, guys. In a couple of days' time, I'm going to be doing a show with Lucy Reese. So obviously, you guys know, just kind of get an insight into 100. She obviously was part of the production team, so I want to do a little quick pod with her. But I thought interject with that now after what Reggie just said about
Quick
the
plug
100.
now. Full bar on it.
Yeah, no, I actually quite enjoyed the 100, but let's not get into it now.
Same, even I enjoyed it.
I did mind it.
Hold on. Throughout the whole time we did any stream during the 100, you had F the 100 on your as your tag on your.
I know, but listen, man, I can be persuaded. Do you know what I mean? I can be persuaded. Do you know what I mean?
Livingston hit those sixes, man. Come on.
Listen, I think I was going to do a video entitled "The Birth of a Monster" because I really think that Liam Livingston, and Tamar Mills, for me, start for England. Now Archer's gone, but anyway, I know Reggie's probably going to fall asleep if they talk any more about the 100 and white ball cricket, so he better shoot. Thank you so much to everyone. Genuinely, I've really enjoyed the time to be able to partake in the stream for the last hour. We've hit an hour and 40, and I don't know what you guys obviously been part of it, but I think it's been quite enjoyable. Thank you to Aditi and Met to shoot off for the first half of the show. Thanks so much to Simon Banerjee of Cafe Met Jaffa Merchant on Twitter. Is that right? Yeah. We've got a comment to my mate Dan in Cape Town, which we will get in a second. Dan, stay there, man. Unless you just shut off, maybe. I don't know. Krishna Kalki. Krishna, where can we find you? I know you're on various platforms.
My Instagram handle right there. Spotify, Facebook, and YouTube.
Go check him out. And he's not Bangalore's answer to R. Kelly, fortunately. So go check his music out.
I'm so sad, man.
Rajiv, what's the name of your book?
It's Life in Cricket. There you go. And just so that you know, when I was at Lord's for the first day of the India test, they let me give it. Sorry. Can you sit? They let me add it to their library. So I belong to the Lord's library now. My work belongs to the Lord's library. So
amazing, man. Amazing.
That's very cool.
So
can we see? You've got a further shot away to actually see the main picture, the cover.
Yep.
There you are. There, yeah.
Wow,
I see.
lovely.
Rajiv looking dapper there, man.
That was the Pakistan test, 2018 May. So
look at the weather there in May. Look at the shit we got now.
May, before the world went crazy 2 years later. So
indeed, yeah.
So yeah, no, that was a good time, and So yeah, it's good to see.
Joe, Dan, if that's you on the stream, just stay there for a second, man. We'll get to your question. Joe, where can we find you, mate?
Yeah, that's my Twitter there. Nutsy99.
Nutsy99. So Joe Nutsy99 is part of the County Cricket Podcast. You can check him out on all major platforms. interviewing various kind of cricketers. Really, really good content. Go check them out. Also, Joe started a football blog, I believe. Footy blog.
Yeah.
What's that about, Joe?
So I contribute to United District, which is like a website for Man United, who I support. So I contribute to them regularly. Well, started that, but it's going to be regularly. And also my own website, which is slowed down recently. Head Scout, which is about under 23 football. So if you want to go and give my stuff a read, that'd be great. And hopefully I'll have the guts to start YouTube in the next few weeks. I'm trying to.
I hope so. I'd love
to
gene
myself up to do it, but I don't know.
No, you got to do it, man. You got to do it. Honestly, we also is it football or cricket or both or?
That's remains to be seen.
Okay, cool, man.
So,
well, I think is it Will Burford does both cricket and footy, isn't it? So
yeah.
That's what I'm fan. But yeah. Anyway, Dan, if that is you, man, you got his message here. You little cheeky git, just basically messaged and shot off. Proteas thrashing in the World T20 Cup final. Listen, man, you ain't making out the group stage, and you fucking know it, Dan. You absolutely know it, because we've seen how you guys perform in the last few months. So
South Africa's finished.
South Africa, there you go. You've heard it from Bush or not yourself. You've heard it from Mr. Bush or not. So South Africa is finished. We will end it on that note. Thanks once again, guys, for coming on. Did I give you the right coverage there, Cyan, about where to find you at Jaffa Merchants on Twitter? Is anywhere else?
Yeah, you can find me.
And at Bush or not on Instagram. I believe that's still your name,
Yep.
isn't it, on there?
Yep.
So yeah, there we go. Awesome. Okay, Dan. I'll give you your 5 minutes. You came in after an hour and 40. Bavuma 138.
He won't make it into the squad, I guess.
And something so. Right. He loves it. He loves the white. You should be sleeping, man. It's way past your bedtime. 10 o'clock over there. There we go.
Wait, South Africa barely made it to like the top 10, right? Like, so next year they might like have to play the qualifiers with Sri Lanka and stuff.
They'll play Namibia next year.
They'll be Namibia, yeah. That'll be fun. That'll be fun to watch. Yeah.
Imagine if David Vissa's joined Namibia, so he played for Namibia in the world T20.
And also because South Africa is going out, that means like a team like Zimbabwe or somebody will come in, which would be even more fun. You know, that'd be nice.
Well, honestly, let's see how South Africa do in Sri Lanka. I've got a feeling it's going to be more pain and hurt for the Proteas fans. We'll see on Cricket Fast Magazine is where you'll catch DT and Meta as well, crying most days, 7 o'clock, SAST, I think you say it. So yeah, maybe you might catch that there as well. Anyway, right, we're too busy focusing on rugby. I don't know if you're a rugby fan. God damn, why are you coming now, man, so late? Yeah, just okay. You had your fun the sun against the Lions. Fair enough. All right. I am wrapping up there, guys. Thank you so much for coming on.
Cheers, guys.
Really enjoyed it. We'll see you next time. Thanks, guys. Take care.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Bye.
Take care, guys. Bye.